The METUS Tech Show.
Welcome to the METUS Tech Show, a show for HVAC professionals by HVAC professionals.
The METUS Tech Show.
Hey guys, I was listening to last week's show. I couldn't be on it, but I have a bone of contention here. Who in their right mind would crack an egg and throw it into ground beef to put hamburger patties together? The hamburger meat itself with all that fat and all the smushiness, you squeeze that together, you make a meatball and then you flatten it out and you got your patty. It's staying together. The only way you put an egg on a hamburger is when you fry it and put it on top and then put the bun on.
Okay, I've tried the egg in the hamburger before. I've tried egg and pineapple in a burger. No, I'm just kidding, Paul.
Jeez.
That was for you.
Oh my God.
Well, Paul, we're not all like you. All right.
Well, thank God for that.
Let me re-clarify. All right, there, guy. It also depends what type of meat. If you're using a lower grade meat, that does have a tendency to fall apart. So if you want that in essence glued together, then an egg certainly helps with that. But if you use high quality, good, chunk of beef, you don't need an egg to glue that together.
Yeah, and you got to be careful too, because the fat content in hamburger, right? You got to have the high fat content. So I usually go with an 85% lean.
That's what you need.
And that's to me that's a good burger. Now, if you start going into the real lean 90%, it will fall apart. You got a good point there,
forget that.
Scott.
I side with the 80-20.
Fat
80.
is flavor.
Ooh.
Fat is flavor. I'm just telling you.
100%.
Right now.
All right. So what are you guys throwing on the grill for this 4th of July?
Me, I'm doing steak tips. That's my favorite thing. I love steak tips. I'll marinate them in different marinades. Depends on what mood I'm in, but it usually involves a little red wine and some pepper, and I like that Montreal seasoning. All right, you have to marinate them, and the key is they have to marinate at least a day. Overnight at the very least. 2 days is even better. I throw them on the grill. I like a medium. My family likes a medium well, so I give them the thin ones. I take the thick ones. I'll throw some sausages on there. I'll throw some Italian sausage, hot Italian sausage, sweet sausage. I'll throw some linguiça, chorizo on there, some chicken. You know what I like to do on the grill? I won't do it. I usually do it in the fall. Is I make pizza on the grill. I take the dough, I do all the things, I let it rise, I put it on the mat, I spread it out into a pizza thing, then I put it on the grill for just a few minutes, I flip it over, then I bring it in and put a little olive oil, the sauce, and I'll put all my toppings and my cheese and everything else and throw it back on the grill. It takes just a few minutes to cook and it's delicious. It's not
You
quite...
have a pizza stone?
No, I'll throw it right on the grill.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
I'm doing beef and chicken kebabs, and for the kids, I'm doing hamburgers and hot dogs.
Now, are you going to Walmart and getting that box of 48 hamburgers for like $1.17? That aren't really meat. They just fat and some mystery.
I'm not doing that. I'm buying ground chuck.
No, ground chuck is good but I'll do the Walmart stuff if one of my boys is having a bunch of friends over because they don't care what they eat. They're just teenagers. They'll eat whatever you put in front of them.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, so I'm not spending good money on them. I get these. They're not real hamburgers, I don't think. But talk about flaming up. If you don't watch out, your grill will actually melt because they get so much crap in them that burns up.
You got it. And then, what do you guys' point on hot dogs? You guys do 100% beef hot dogs or just whatever comes in a hot dog you eat?
I do the KM old time hot dogs, the best hot dogs on the market.
Yeah, hot dogs.
Be the KM old time.
Yeah, I like the KM, the skinless, but hot dogs are the safest food in the world. I love hot dogs.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do burnt ends for the 4th.
Now we're talking.
What kind of meat you going to use, Steve?
Not brisket. I'm going to use the what's the bacon
chuck. You going to use the chuck?
No, not the chuck. The bacon slab. I'm saying it wrong, but
pork belly.
Pork belly, yes.
Yeah, it's like
thanks, Scott.
Now, Steve,
pork belly burnt ends.
You're not
Chicharrón.
Steve.
It's I find it easier to make burnt ends with the pork belly, and I think they taste they taste way better. My kids lose their mind over it.
Yeah, they're like little pieces of candy.
Right.
Yes.
But Steve, you're smoking that. You're not grilling that, right?
It starts off with smoking, but then you end up cranking up the grill to get that chicharron or the crispy pork fat on top. You got to have that crispy pork fat, or if it turns to mush, it's not as enjoyable.
Yeah, it's crispy. So you don't live that far from me. You may have a visitor.
And I'm doing ribs for my cook.
No, what kind?
Nice.
St. Louis?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, St. Louis. Yep,
Oh,
St. Louis. And I'm cooking it I'm going old school. I'm actually going to cook it at my offset using pecan wood, stick burner, 100%. Yeah, so I already have my wood. Actually comes in this week because I get my wood shipped in, and then go from there.
All right.
Speaking of ribs, Juan, did you cook your ribs? You said last week you were cooking your ribs. Now, how did they come out?
They were awesome. They were, like I said, I smoked them at first for about 2 hours, and then I cranked up the heat for about another hour, flipped them, smothered them with barbecue sauce, and everybody loved it.
Awesome.
Oh,
And I did 2 slabs, by the way. I went ahead and took the bite. I was apprehensive at first, being that it was my first.
So that was your first time using a smoker. Great. I'm glad it worked out for you. So we'll have to remember that next time I have to come your way.
Well, I won't be holding my breath.
Let's get down to business. I wasn't here last week, but I heard the podcast. It was a lot to it. Very enlightening and very interesting. I loved it, actually, and I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. So last week we talked about cooling patterns in the R2. Let's just switch gears and talk about heating patterns in defrost.
Yeah, and by the way, that next week is the 4th of July, and the METUS Tech Show will be taking a little vacation, so there will be no episode next week, but we'll have a jam-packed episode the week after.
All right, good. Thanks for reminding me of that, because we don't want people waiting for an episode. So everybody, enjoy the 4th. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you the week after.
So Juan, talk about heating patterns, and kick us off with these heating patterns and with the R2, because it's a little different than talking about cooling patterns. We don't segment the outdoor coils in heating mode, correct?
Correct, because we're depending on the mass of that outdoor coil to draw as much heat as we're able at our lower temperatures that our systems operate under. So we're not going to have any patterns on the heating side like we do in the cooling side. We're wanting to have as much face value on that coil as we can, so our heat exchange from the outdoor ambient into our refrigerant is maximized.
We're only looking at 2 patterns across all of our models. So pattern 1 being 100% full, all the indoor units are in full heating mode, full call for heat, and pattern 2 being 100% heating mode, but combined units, meaning we have some units in cooling, some units in heat, but we're in heating main.
Yes, heating main is when most of the indoor units are calling for heating, but you may have just a handful calling for cooling. So yes, but you still have the 100% heating pattern.
So, and Juan, just to follow up with you, another way, good check on this is, depending on what models you're on, right? All your bursting valves will be energized, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like we have 21S4A is our main reversing valve responsible for reversing the flow of the refrigerant. So the other 2 are energized as well. So we can sense, because our outdoor coil is in essence is our evaporator coil. So we have to make sure that all the segments on that outdoor coil are active in the heating mode. So we do energize the reversing valves, yes.
So you have to keep in mind where flow is reversed at this point.
So we got 2 basically outdoor modes, heating only and heating main. What's the difference?
Okay, and as I started to say, heating only, again, is when all the indoor units are calling for heating.
Right.
They're on the same mode. Heating main, as I said, sometimes you may have that one hot spot in the building that somebody may need a little bit of cold air, so they turn their system to cooling. And then that's when LEV2D comes into play as far as controlling the liquid that is being used for the units that are calling for cooling.
And that's what I was trying to get at, was the LEV being different. So that
Yes.
LEV is going to do something different, depending on whether it's in heat only or heating main.
And actually, and that's a good point, Paul, because LEV2D is, for the most part, is closed in the cooling cycle. It only opens up, like in the cooling mode, let's say cooling main. Cooling main is when most of the indoor units are on cooling, but you may have those two areas that are too cold, so they need some hot refrigerant. So LEV2D will open up and allow some hot gas to mix with the liquid going into the branch controller. So those units calling for heating will get that hot gas for their heating cycle.
Are you making this stuff up, or is this written down someplace where you get this information?
You can get this information out of my favorite chapter in the service manual, and that is Chapter 5.
Chapter 5 tells you everything you need to know.
Best chapter there is in this manual.
I agree.
Yes,
Yep.
there is. It tells you about control and how the monster does what it does. And I say the word monster in a good way, because that heat recovery unit is a monster.
It's a good monster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like you put in the manual too, it gives a breakdown what we're doing with the different LEVs, their positionings, reversing valve positionings, etc.
Yeah,
It's a great
and not
reference.
just that, but solenoid valves, SV1A,
Yeah.
and the other. What are those solenoid valves doing, and when are they doing it? It's all in that section. It's a great section. It's a great read. So when you're on vacation next week on 4th of July, you have nothing else better to do, read section 5.
What do you guys want to bet that Nick in Hawaii reads the service manual to his kids at night instead of a bedtime story?
Good old Nick. You know he does.
Yeah, I
you
bet
know
you
he does.
So as far as the heating patterns, that's pretty much it. And there's nothing else to talk about. So let's talk about what happens in the heat mode. Let's talk about defrost. So what are the conditions needed for defrost, for the unit to go into defrost?
So we all know that in the heating cycle, we create frost at the outdoor coil. And the more frost is created, the less effective or the less efficient that outdoor unit becomes. So hence the defrost cycle. We have to initiate defrost so we can clear that frost of that outdoor coil. So there's 3 data points that the system looks at. Outside temperature through TH7 being our ambient thermistor. The other data point is cumulative compressor operating time. So in other words, the compressor has to have been running for some time before defrost is initiated. And the third data point is TH3, which is a pipe temperature thermistor, which is also called our defrost thermistor, monitoring the coil temperature outside. In those 3 data points, there are 3 conditions. The first condition is that the outdoor ambient temperature needs to be either at 23 degrees or above.
That's Fahrenheit. Let's just stipulate that's Fahrenheit. Because we got people.
Correct. Yes, Fahrenheit.
Yeah, because we got people all over the world that listen to us, actually. So that's, for those who don't use the Fahrenheit scale, it's a -5 Celsius.
Correct. And then after that is met, then we look at cumulative compressor operating time, which is 50 minutes or more. Now, it all depends on where the defrost prohibit timer is being set. And you have 3 settings, 50, 90, and 250 minutes or more. So if the defrost prohibit timer is set at 50, so then you meet the outdoor ambient, then you meet that 50-minute of operating time under condition 1, but you also must meet what TH3 is seeing. Now, TH3, depending on where SW4, which is a dip switch, function 915, is set, it determines the outdoor temperature at which the system will go into defrost.
Right, and
That's a good point,
yeah.
Juan, because it's very customizable depending on the geographical location where you are. If you're deep in the northeast, where I am, I may need to go into my function settings, just like you talked about, and change my defrost start time or defrost start temperature to a different temperature because I'm not defrosting my coil completely.
Steve, that's a good point also, but one more thing to add, it's not model specific. Each model has a temperature set point, and that's why we need to look at the service manual according to, like you said, according to the application or the region that we're in, so we can set that dip switch properly. So on the defrost operation, on the initiation of where the defrost is started, and to repeat myself, on condition 1, the temperature outside needs to be 23 degrees or above with a 50 or a 90-minute running time, and then the TH3 temperature, which is the defrost thermostat set point, is model specific. So we must look at Chapter 5 of the service manual for that unit to see what setting on function 915 we need to set for that outdoor ambient to be active. And then the other two conditions, conditions 2 and 3, you're only dealing with when the outside temperature is 23 degrees or below, then the running time comes into play. And then again, the outdoor TH3 thermistor settings. So 3 conditions, 3 data points, and that's how the defrost initiation is on this R2 unit.
Now, remember, the units come from the factory ready to rock in a very generic setup. So we're not saying go in and start flipping dip switches and get all concerned about where this should be set. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And
absolutely.
If you're having issues and you're getting more frost on that coil and the frost is not going away after a full defrost, that's when you can go in and start customizing with function settings and changing your conditions.
Yeah, and for me, it's always been my rule. I don't know if it's a rule of thumb, but it's always been my thing. I've told young technicians that I've been training, if you think the answer is to start changing how long the defrost takes and what initiates it and when it initiates, a lot of times, I'm going to say most of the time, it's probably not the case. Do everything else first and check everything else. Check airflow, check cleanliness of the coils, and everything. And just
refrigerant charge.
Yes, absolutely. And just to get back to those SW4 temperatures, they're going to be -5 Celsius, -8 Celsius, and -10 Celsius, which is about 14 degrees for -10, 14 degrees Fahrenheit. For -8, it's about 17.5, and then as we mentioned before, -5, it's about 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So for those outside of the U.S., those are the temperatures. Again, follow the manual, and it's all in there. That's where I'm getting it. I actually have the manual right here in front of me, because if I didn't have the manual right here in front of me, could I do this?
No.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
You could not. I'm just thankful that you can read.
Yes, me too.
All right, Scott, you want to cover the defrost termination?
Yeah. So what takes to stop in the defrost operation, right, guys? So first thing, the defrost cycle ends about 12 minutes since the beginning of the cycle. Now that can fluctuate depending on different calculations that I will talk about here in a second. But what can come in play is when pipe temperature TH3 has been continuously detected for about 4 minutes. Now, depending on what model outdoor unit we're using. So going back to one point, right, what engages defrost for TH3, that was function 915. Now, what terminates it would be function 916, SW4, function 916. And just to give you just an idea of some numbers, 916 off for a 72 model is roughly 45 degrees. And then you can actually increase that roughly 9 degrees, 916 on for 54 degrees. So if you do put that on, now what will happen is it has to continuously detect that temperature of 54 degrees for 2 minutes to terminate the defrost operation. So those are some of the ideas. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you're in a real cold climate, so you're up in Maine, by turning on 916, you're increasing the defrost termination temperature, that TH3 being detected for 4 minutes at 54 degrees. What you're doing is you're getting a longer defrost out of that unit in a cold environment. But that 12 minutes is the fail-safe. No matter what happens after 12 minutes, it's coming out of a defrost.
And that's a hard 12 minutes. There's no changing that, right?
Well, no, it's not. No. So the compressor frequency is fixed at 60 hertz. When the compressor bottom shell temp, TH15, you minus your TE, is less than or equal to 18 degrees. And the defrost mode may even continue after 12 minutes.
Yeah. So for a larger combination, like the 384 to 432 models on the EPs, on the high efficiency, the defrost cycle ends when 15 minutes has passed. So again, we can't stress this enough. Don't put this all in one box. It's unit specific and it changes by model. So make sure you're looking at the service manual for that particular model.
And we have to be careful how we activate this defrost temperature also, because we may be experiencing a little bit more frost than we may like as a contractor. So we may just think, I'm just going to flip it and let it go to a warmer outdoor coil temperature. Well, but what you're doing is you're allowing that system to run on defrost longer, which, if you know defrost is operating on the cooling mode, and you're allowing that building to get colder. So you've got to be careful on how you engage that SW4 function 916.
And just like Steve and a couple of you guys already said it in the call, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Don't touch it. All right. So is there anything else we need to discuss regarding defrost?
And like I spoke about last week on continuous heating mode, the beauty of the R2 unit and what I love about it, and we talked about there is no segmenting in heating mode, but there is segmenting in defrost, because continuous heating mode allows that system to defrost segments of the outdoor coil while still allowing to pull heat from the outside and heat the space. And the normal heat pumps, when we go into defrost, fans slow down or shut off. And for that 12 minutes or 15 minutes, there's no heating. That's not the case with the R2. Continuous heating mode is a great option to have. It lets the customer stay comfortable while the system is defrosting.
Steve, is that standard out of the box, or is that a setting we have to select?
That's standard out of the box. There may be a function setting to adjust some temperatures, but it's standard out of the box.
All right, cool.
Love it.
Anything else, guys, regarding defrost? I think we've covered just about everything I can think of.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right, that was an easy one. This was an easy topic. So again,
awesome.
All right, so folks, remember 4th of July week, there's no podcast that week. We're taking it off. We're all going to be grilling or smoking or barbecuing, whatever you want to call it. And we'll see you the week after. And I'm going to give a little teaser here. We have an announcement that we're going to be making mid-July that I think at least I'm happy with. Steve is happy with. I think Juan and Scott, you guys are happy with it too. But we'll be having an announcement regarding our training department come middle July. So just to keep everybody as anticipation.
All right. Can't wait to hear.
All right. So what are you guys going to serve for side dishes with your 4th of July meats?
I love sweet coleslaw.
I like coleslaw.
Nope, I'm out.
No, you're out of everything. You're so unoriginal.
Coleslaw and beans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Beans. Baked beans.
Baked beans.
Yes.
I like a good potato salad myself.
I never liked potato salad until I had my wife's. I don't know what she does to it, but it's one of the few potato salads I actually like. I was never really a fan. Of course, French fries are a must.
Onion rings.
Oh, yeah.
Watermelon.
Yes, corn on the cob.
Watermelon.
Corn on the cob, yep.
Lately, I've been big on the corn on the cob.
Oh man.
Corn on the cob is just. I had some last night with chicken thighs, and
How'd you cook that, Steve? Did you just do it on the grill real quick?
I just boiled them. I boil them in water with milk and a half a stick of butter.
You're gonna laugh at this, but have you ever done the microwave trick?
Oh my.
I have.
Yes. Yeah,
Just
I've done
throw the whole leaf of corn in the microwave for 4 minutes per one. So last night I had 3 of them in there, so I cooked it, 12 minutes worth, and it came out perfect.
Hold on a second. Are you boiling the chicken thighs or the corn and water and milk?
corn and water and milk. It's a recipe that I found online, and I'll tell you what. I was a little skeptical at first. I'm like, what is this with milk and butter? And the person swore up and down it's the best corn on the cob that you'll ever have, and it is. You don't even need to put butter on the corn when you're done.
Right.
You just pull it out of that water. So a pot of water, probably like a cup of milk, whole milk, and a half a stick of butter, maybe five, 6 pieces of corn in the pot. I don't know what the milk does or the butter. It's incredible.
I'll let you know how it tastes there, Steve, because I'm going to try that.
Yeah, I'm going to try it too. I was scared there. I thought you were talking about the chicken thighs. I go, what? Jeez.
Yeah, maybe buttermilk.
Yeah.
With some
buttermilk
or something.
Yeah, when I make fried chicken, I got the buttermilk. You soak the chicken in the buttermilk, and then you put it in the flour with some paprika and other spices in there, and then back to the buttermilk, and then and you fry that. That's one thing, but not boiled.
Yeah.
Boiled chicken is only good if it's a soup. That's it.
Sweet.
All right, guys. You guys have a happy and safe 4th of July, and all our listeners out there, please be careful and enjoy the holiday and be safe. And come back the following week and listen to our show. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but we'll figure it out, and we'll see you then, everybody. Take care.
We'll see you.
Adios.
Thanks, guys.